Welcome to Life with Miss Jewell, where we dive deep into Black culture and the unique experience of life. Join me as we explore identity, connection, and the experiences that shape us. This is a safe space for honest conversations, culture celebration, and discovering new perspectives. Let's get into it. With Jewel and Imzadi. This is part two. In part one, we were ending up with talking about her tiny homes and being in the Gambia and what that looks like for her and others that are possibly going to join. Here we go.
Yes. So, please watch our first episode. Um, that's posted before this one, just so you can understand where we're coming from at this point. But basically, tiny homes are our choice in the Gambia. My husband and I moved here to start a business, and that is our business. We build small homes for people because we believe that financially the biggest reason why we are not in Africa is because of our financial situations. We're not able to have access to money, whether you're having access to money as a first generation, meaning you are the one that's making the money, or your second or third generation, meaning that you're coming from a family with money. Maybe your grandfather had money, and then your mother had money, and now you have money. Either situation, we are on the less likelihood of having that. So with moving to Africa, already having the ignorance of Africa, that is the core push that we have, because we believe that if we can financially help people move here, then more people will. And not only will more people move here, but more younger people will move here as well. We are not saying that if you're older, you should move to Africa, or you don't have, we don't support you moving here, but we do want to push that our younger generation come here as well to help push the narrative of
Everybody
Africa.
come.
We need them all. We need our elders so that they can guide us and they can be a financial goal for us. And then we need our young people so that we can be the bodies of the finances. We might not have come into a certain amount of money just yet, but we have all of the energy. We have all of the ideas. We have all of the now knowledge of technology, which is where the world is going. So we need to be here and implement our knowledge that we have in our younger years to build up Africa, rather than trying to build ourselves up in a space that's always going to tear us down.
Thank you for that. Thank you for your insight. And like I said, she's so encouraging because she brought her youth and her energy here, and she's doing it. She's doing it every day. So check her out. Her information will be in the bio below. And what else? You said you wanted to ask me some questions, so we're going to turn it over to the second segment, more or less, about the three Ds: no dick, no dope, no donuts. And to tell you a little bit about that personally, um, in the Black Joe Tarot, there was an intro where I talked about that. So that was my motto where I was struggling to get clean. I would say that every day: no dick, no dope, no donuts, because it was very personal. And that's where I had to get to doing my 12 steps, making amends, turning it over, surrendering. And so I came up with a recovery program for anybody who's interested, where there's two steps. It's surrender and let go, or surrender and forgiveness, right? So our first step is, going to your higher power. And I'm telling you, some days it was just that. It was just what I had to do, and I had to say no, monkey on my back. And it was no. And like you see, I'm still voluptuous. I was a big kid, a big girl. Um, and it was about self-esteem and eating habits, where now I'm not looking in the mirror and hating the body that I see. I'm in total acceptance of being me. And that's where the no donuts came in. It was mind over matter. But then everything went within range, Um, but getting to a spot in my life where I'm okay with me and not worried about what other people are thinking and what other people are doing is following the steps that led me to my inspiration to want to do more and live a higher conscious life, right? And it is what it is, no dope. And when I say no dope could be toxicity, toxic people, toxic family members, and recovery. Anything can fall up under that. And so when I got my dual certification, I really learned that we have to recover from everything, from us being a black people. And we went through slavery, we went through, being colonized and Jim Crow and, the crack epidemic that plagued our people, the loss of lives unnecessarily, and especially our ancestors who lost their lives during the transatlantic slave trade. We all need to recover. We all have something to recover from, and then we all have something to learn from each other. Excuse me, I'm hot. So even being 50 and having hot flashes is a part of recovery, because once you go through that, let me tell you something. It changes the game. It's the game that changed. I ain't 23 no more. That's just the honest truth. We need our big mamas to explain what's going on with the bodies. Like, I wish somebody would have told me, and I understand why the women carry the rags, the white rags, and a cup of ice. Um,
Right. Oh my gosh.
this sacred space that I'm developing is for us. It's for us, by us, but it comes with an understanding and it comes with an inspiration that together we can. And together we can with a plan, and a plan with a purpose has to succeed. And so I want everybody to just join, tune in. We could chop it up, we can have a discussion, and everything is everything, especially with our culture. We have music, activism, food, um, and the togetherness. And that's what I really enjoy about my ancestral worship, is when I take it to the ocean and I offer other people to come. And we venerate and acknowledge our ancestors. It's so inspiring to feel that energy as well. So to come home and let go, the new and full moon offerings that I do, the meditations, there's going to be a lot on this podcast and on my YouTube channel coming up. So check it out, check it out, check it out. I invite you and I welcome you. I probably left something out. You could ask me something now.
I think that was a great intro to the question that I want to ask you. When we talk about 3Ds and you talk about the struggle that you personally went through, I want to ask you, how do you think the crack epidemic has influenced the culture tides in the Black community today?
That's a great question. And what it did is separated us. And that's why I chose Culture Tides, to tie us back in and to know that we are one and together we can. And we're united and we could bond. We could take what the crack epidemic that tore us apart, we could mend it back together. It's
Mm,
so important. A lot of people my age are dead. We lost some good people. We can even go to the rap game, like we lost Pac, we lost Biggie. And I grew up under NWA. When I was in high school, that was one of the songs that we played. And if, your homie can't have none, it ain't no fun. And all of these derogatory things that broke us down. And when I tell you the crack epidemic tore me apart, where I tried to kill myself. I wanted to kill my kids. I wanted to jump off the roof. It was so much stress. And it's a demonic energy, any kind of druggery, it just brings negativity. And if you don't have a clear mind, and if you don't have a God or God inspired, it tears you down. And then you have to deal with the system, being under the guise of the man, as we say. That's another thing,
right.
right? And so the crack epidemic is, I can say I survived. I am a survivor, and now I'm a thriver because I'm here in Africa. So I changed that trajectory for my own self, and I want others to know that it's possible. And that's why I wanted to really invite you on, because you're 26 years old, two children, and married in Africa. You got out of the matrix. How proud I am of you as a mother to see at this young age that I could do something different, I could do something better, and then I can inspire and invite others to come and see how it's done. And that's what I talk about, collaboration. Right there is this, you're a prime example. You're a prime example of youth that even the older ones can learn from. And so, I have to keep, just telling you, thank you so much for allowing me to see a different side of blackness, of black beauty, right? Of black family. You bring that to Africa. You brought it with you. You had it all the time because you had it in America, but you brought it to Africa. How beautiful, how proud your ancestors are for you to come home. Yeah.
Wow. And I'm so grateful to be here. I feel that every single time I wake up and I realize, wow, I'm in Africa. Wow, I made it. Because the process of moving here took 3 years. It took years of research and years of planning and years of just the perfect situation to be set up in order for it to happen. So every time I wake up and I'm here and I'm in Africa and I'm thriving, as you said, I feel like I'm chosen. I feel like I'm one of the ones that were supposed to be here. My ancestors handpicked me and said, "You are going to be the one that's going to make it back to the place that we so desperately wanted to go, that we jumped off of the ships trying to swim back to." So it's beautiful. It's a beautiful energy, and like you said, I really do appreciate your ceremonies that you have because they force you, if you're not already in that mindset, they force you to think about your ancestors, to think about, and especially being at the ocean, right? And we're in Gambia, so if we want to go back a little bit in history, Gambia is one of the main ports that they took us from. They took our ancestors from. Um,
Well,
so
Kunta Kinte Island is one of the islands that I go to do my offering. So I've been there several times in the cave dungeon where they held the slaves, and that's on my YouTube channel. The energy, the first time, the energy was so strong. It was like I was in hell. I was sweating. I got like lightheaded and fumbled words. And then the next time I went where it was barren, fruit was growing. So I seen that the energy had been lifted. And so it's going to continue to get better. And I did, I wanted to interrupt you to say how important that is, because the narrative that they sold us about Kunta Kinte Island and Alex Haley and all of that, I'm an active participant in honoring the ancestors, and it's been an honor and a pleasure, and I'm just a humble servant. But continue what you were saying.
right, and I honor you for that because, and I know that I said this before to you, but I really do believe in the things that you do, the work that you do, because it helps us as a spiritual community to stay accountable. It helps us, it forces us once again to look in the face of our history, look in the face of our ancestors at that point in time and say, wow, this is the ocean that they left from. And I'm standing my bare feet in the waters looking at it, but from a completely different view, from a side of it's a beautiful place. It's my home now. Whereas they were looking at it from, I'll never be back here. Will I ever come back to this beautiful space? So we applaud you for all of the offerings that you do. We love that. I feel like it gives us accountability with our spirit on our spiritual journey. Also, I wanted to kind of tie, because we're talking about our ancestors, and when you think about when we think about our ancestors, I can definitely say as a Black person, we all think resilience. All of us. We think resilience, we think endurance, we think strong. And so I wanted to kind of loop back around into the topic and ask you, what role do resilience and recovery play in shaping the identity of the of future and future of the Black culture?
That's a loaded question. It is, and I thank you. You always have these amazing questions when we're together. And I'll say it's shaping us to be better because when we're acknowledging our ancestors and what we did, like you said, that energy and knowing that they were taken and were prisoners of war, how that could reshape the mind of today's generation to shine like what you're doing and you've come back. So it's about repatriating Africa. And Africa's not for everybody, right? And I'm not gonna sit here and lie, say everybody come on, it's gonna be great. No, because it's good and bad, and I mean shit happens, right?
Yeah.
But we're redesigning our lives, right? We're getting out of the matrix and then we're coming back home. How powerful is that? And then acknowledging the ancestors is going to give you the strength and the vitality to change the old paradigm. And that's what it's about. Acknowledgement, change, and power to the people. Especially with their culture, it shows strength and it shows the power that like our ancestors had to go through in that great resilience. They kept fighting, they protected each other, they died for each other, and that's what we have to bring, that attitude for our community to be strong, for our community to really stand. We got to stand
Right.
on business and stand on what they stood on because the ancestors, they didn't break. And some that did, like I said, it ain't for everybody. But what we bring, and what I'd like to say I bring is that strength. I want to be looked at as one of those that you
Right.
can come to and lean on.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I think that, like I said, we are the embodiment of resilience. For us as Black people, um, as I'm gonna say as African Americans first, because we are the ones that experienced slavery. We look at our ancestors with resilience. Now, as far as the world, they look at Black people as the idea of resilience, right? Just in general, we have that narrative. Other races look at us with that narrative, whether you're talking about a woman and we can endure more pain during labor, or you're talking about a Black man and they can endure more physical labor. Because of slavery, right? Now, as Black people, we are looked at in that manner. And so I want to say, from our history and coming into now, how do you think that what are lessons from the past that you feel are critical for younger generation like me to carry forward into the future when you look at the our history from our ancestors, when you start thinking about the crack epidemics, the AIDS epidemic, and now we're talking about today? Do you feel like there are lessons in those times that we can take now and still apply to our life?
Yes. And you know what? It's education, it's learning,
Mm,
it's learning. I'm getting chills all over my body because when I was child rearing, I would tell my children, learn how to read and write. They didn't allow our ancestors how to read and write. My mother, um, she could read, but she couldn't really write, and phonics and all of that. And even my grandmother, very smart. And these are very smart women,
right.
intellect.
Intellectual. You said it. You said it.
But I'm thinking, because I get choked up when I think about my grandmother and my mother, because I miss them so much.
Yeah.
My children missing out on they big mama, right? Because they didn't play no games. The women in my family were pillars of strength.
Wow.
And they were entrepreneurs. Like, my grandmother made quilts. She sold food. She cleaned houses. Just they did everything on a massive scale. They did it big. My auntie had a store. She made jewelry. She taught me about crystals. She was the first one as a child. that I picked out my amethyst crystal about 6 years old.
Oh, wow.
So these gifts that were bestowed on me with healing, there was some natural healers in the family that told me, do this, do that. And so when I think about them and their legacy, it's education, it's knowledge. Knowledge is power, and power applied is you got a new paradigm, strength.
Yeah.
And we cannot, what slavery did to us, we can't allow that to just keep breaking us down. And now we have a dummy system in the educational world where we got a computer and it's hands off and don't talk and communicate. Everybody's texting, and that takes away the sensory. We get desensitized because we're not communicating, we're not looking each other in the eye, we're not touching each other. We need to be touched, we need to be hugged, we need to be talked to and heard, because that tone is a vibration, and that vibration gives up to the ethers. And that's the words that we carry to our ancestors. And back and forth. So when you ask me
Wow.
that question, I just always go back as education. Learn and read all you can. And I admit I'm not a great comprehensive reader. I can read, but I didn't learn phonics. I was, and we're not going to talk about school and, what happened to me. But what I can is what I'm left with. Like, no, I went to school. I got a decent degree. I love to work on cars because my Uncle Homer taught me how to work on cars. He taught me to hit the starter. So,
Right.
and I thank him because I could maintain my car. I didn't always have to be around a man or be in somebody's face that I need this fixed. Like, I could diagnose it myself. And that's another thing that I like about the strength that I bring, is that I've been experienced enough to help young women to give them, learn how to change a tire, learn how to check your oil. You have to have some of the things that are said are man things, or, it's a man's job, but you want to be independent, but not independent to a place where you don't want a man, because they tore away the black family. You talk about crack epidemic. Before that, they brought welfare. And so now we don't respect our black men. And
Mm.
of course, you was at the Father's Day celebration. We're uplifting that male energy. That was a part of that system, is to bring back their dignity. The male ancestors was crying because they done died for their wives and their mothers and not being recognized. And so it
Mm.
was such an honor to elevate that male energy and to acknowledge their divinity in them. And they were crying for that. They want to be recognized. They want
Mm.
us to say, we love you and we thank you. And so that celebration was a good example of what we could still do to honor those on the other side today. All
Right.
is not lost. We still have hope.
Wow. And from what you were saying, I'm taking away to always just continue to pursue knowledge, never to let up on the pursuit of knowledge, to continue to have hope, because even if you do slide off of the path just a bit, there's always the option, right, to get back on the right path, to pick yourself up and go in the direction that you truly want to go in, even if somehow, some way, you kind of gotten off of the beaten path. And also to stay resilient, which I guess that's like our word of the day, because you're going to go through things. We're going to have to endure, because the fight is not over. We are still profiled. We are still in the baby stage of coming out of slavery. I know a lot of racist people will say that slavery is old, it's over, it's been over. But when you look at all the science behind slavery and how it affects you genetically, how it affects generations, and how long it was, 400 years, you couldn't possibly be able to get over that with less than a matched 400 years of not being enslaved.
When you go
But
back,
also, go ahead.
was going to talk about the Willie Lynch letter, where it left a legacy that for generations to come they'll be torn apart, and it did a really, really, really good job. And so that's what we have to forget about. We have to unlearn and to love ourselves for the short, the small, the fat, and how all the divisions came about. Right?
Right.
We got to let that go.
Right.
Gotta let it go.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why I named the Come Home and Let Go offering, that because it's so much that we've held on to. So when you come here and you get a chance to let go. Yeah, that definitely,
I
definitely. It's an emotional ceremony as well.
very emotional. And I think that I want to exit out of the podcast with a simple question, which is how do you what do you um think the future is for the Black community, especially with us being in Africa and there being a subtle wave of people wanting to come to Africa. And I really don't want to get into politics as far as America goes, but just the concept that's going on right now in America, just to think about it in the back of your mind. Where do you see us as a people in, let's say, the next 20, 30, 40, 100 years from now in correlation to Black ties and in correlation to Africa?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't see the future like that. I can't go in and project 100 years. I'm about today. And what I'm gonna say is today we can come to a community understanding, a community of self-love and love each other to build up that, because it's gonna take time. Nobody's in a place or in power to bring about the change that we want to see on a massive scale in 10 to 20 years. It's going to take a couple generations. So what I would say is I'm leaving us in hope, and I'm leaving us in a framework is coming over to Africa, taking what we can, relearning, reshaping, and building. And then we can go back to America and build. But for me, it's what I'm doing today, because I feel my time is short. So every day
Mm,
I try to live with being empowered and bringing something to offer somebody positive, offer somebody a good word, a smile, food. It's just about what we could do today. I can't sit here and be like 100 years and this gonna be that, and then the moon gonna be gray. I don't know. I don't know. I ain't psychic like that. I might have a dream, but they ain't never gave me that vision. So I can't project and say what it's going to be in 100 years, because I'm hoping for change, and I'm hoping
right,
for change on a massive scale. So I just want to stay in that positive that everything is going to change. It's going to be all right. We still going to be here. We're going to be
right.
right here.
Okay,
We're going to be doing us. Right. And
okay.
thank you
I
for
like the
that.
answer. I like the answer. I feel like I am a little bit on the, because I'm more of a, I don't know how, what would you say, a planner. So what do they say? At my old job, we used to do 50-year plans. What is your plan for your life in 50 years? Yes, we might not know like facts, but what I believe, what I really want to see from us as a Black people, and if you look at certain things that's happening in politics, and especially when you look at what's happening in Africa, politically in Africa, I believe that us as a people, we're going to be in a higher stance in these next couple hundreds of years. And when I say higher stance, I mean that right now, if you look at us, we don't have a home. So the reason why we are still able to be killed dead in the streets in America is because we don't have a home. We don't have a place, a country that says, hey, if you kill my people, if you hurt my people, if you do anything to my people, then I'm going to stop
That's,
doing this. I'm going to stop trading with you. I'm
see,
going to stop. Go ahead.
that's a whole nother topic that We could talk
Yeah,
for
it's
hours
different.
because I agree with you. We don't have a home because they changed that narrative and took everything from us and wiped us out and reclassified us as black, Negro, and all of these derogatory names. Black is a color, right?
Right.
So when you think about that, America is very much our home. But if we continue to carry the white man's narrative of what we ain't got, and that's how we see it, then we ain't gonna have it. We got to know that we home wherever we go because we the first people. We roam the earth. So we got to keep stay in our power and don't let these borders and tear us up and saying, well, this ain't ours and this and ours. No, the whole world is ours. I can go anywhere in the world because I know who I am and I.
Mm-hmm.
So let's forget about all of that, right? Because it's about our mind.
Oh well, we can't. Don't forget about the fact that we don't have a home. We can say that we roam and that we were original. Because if you do your research, if you do your history, you know that we are the
Yeah.
original people for
That,
many reasons. But right now, we don't have anywhere or any place that's going to take up for us.
but
And because of that, that's why we have to come together. We have to come back home. And like you said, repatriate back to Africa, do something here that's going to make a difference, build businesses, create jobs, and show Africa that us as Black people, as African Americans, right, that we still think about Africa as home. They should show we treat Africa as home, not just that we think it, but we treat it like it's home. We come and we're caring about it. They will in turn come and care, and it's changing. You know, you can look at Burkina Faso, you can look at all of these different places that are kicking out the French, and they're saying, hey, you're not treating our people right, we're not doing business with you in that manner. So what I guess what it is, in an ideal world, right, we as African American people will have that space, and that is my hope for us in the next 100 years.
okay, so I'm glad with your hope in Black Power. And I love you for your enthusiasm and you popping off. I love you for that. I love the energy you bring. And that's what is so powerful about you because you're so passionate about your beliefs, your belief system, and the have and have nots and how we can bring that together. And that's what it's about. What are we going to bring it together and say that this is ours? That's why I believe in your tiny homes because this is a community that we can have that we can say that's ours. We could buy up a whole bunch of land and right here we could just rename it, you know,
Right.
ours.
Exactly.
And that's what it's about. But
Exactly.
and still with me, wherever I go, I feel that's where I belong and that's my home because I'm not going to let that mindset take over that narrative that they play to us every day of what we ain't got. So for me, it's not about what I ain't got, it's about what I have, and it's me, and it's my powers, it's my God, and let's keep that in front of us. And so that we can have something to offer when people do come. And I think that's an excellent point. Excellent point, and it's crucial to our growth that we think about that in the next 100 years, right? So I would appreciate that. I appreciate all of you. Thank you for joining us on Black Culture Ties.